The first thing you noticed about room 204 was the silence. It wasn't an empty silence, but a thick, heavy one, like wool packed into your ears. The hotel itself was a forgotten relic, a place where the dust settled with the permanence of a tombstone. And 204 was its heart, a room with a reputation whispered by the few staff who remained. Nobody leaves room 204. Elira had heard the whispers, of course. As the new owner's cynical, debt-collecting niece, she was sent to assess the asset. She didn't believe in ghosts, only in bottom lines and bad plumbing. The key, a tarnished brass thing, felt cold in her hand. The door swung open without a sound. The room was ordinary. A faded floral rug, a mahogany dresser scarred with water rings, a large four-poster bed with a heavy velvet canopy. It smelled of old books and dried roses. Elira scoffed. This was what all the fuss was about. She spent the day checking for rot, tapping walls for hollow spots, her phone buzzing with impatient texts from her uncle. As dusk bled into night, painting the room in shades of violet and gray, she decided to stay. A power move, she told herself. To prove she wasn't afraid of local superstition. That's when the silence began to change. It started with the clock. A beautiful, ornate grandfather clock in the corner, its pendulum still. At exactly 3:33 a.m., it began to tick, a slow, sonorous sound that filled the room. Elira sat bolt upright in the bed. She hadn't wound it. Then came the whispers. Not from one place, but from everywhere, layered over each other like leaves in a forest. Don't open the door. It's no use. The window won't break. She rushed to the door, her heart a frantic drum against her ribs. The handle wouldn't turn. It wasn't locked, it was immovable, as if fused to the frame. She scrambled to the window, heaving at the sash. It didn't budge. She threw a heavy porcelain vase from the dresser. It struck the glass with a dull thud and clattered to the rug, leaving the pane unmarked. Panic, cold and sharp, seized her. She was trapped. Days bled into what felt like weeks. The room provided, in its own twisted way. A carafe of water on the dresser was always full. The fruit in the bowl never rotted. The door to the ensuite bathroom worked perfectly, a cruel mockery of her confinement. She screamed until her throat was raw. She pounded on the walls until her fists were bruised. No one came. The room showed her things. Shadows that danced in the periphery. Faces in the grain of the woodwork. The previous occupants. A businessman from the 80s, his wide tie forever askew. A flapper from the 20s, her beaded dress shimmering as she wept soundlessly. They were all there, echoes trapped in the wallpaper. They had all tried to leave. They had all failed. Elira's cynicism eroded, replaced by a desolate understanding. Room 204 didn't kill you. It kept you. One evening, as she listlessly traced the patterns on the rug, a new sound joined the symphony of whispers. A soft, rhythmic scratching. She followed it to the closet. Inside, tucked behind a worn fur coat, was a small, leather-bound journal. The cover was soft with age. The scratching was coming from inside the book. She opened it. The pages were filled with handwriting, hundreds of different scripts, a cacophony of despair. The final entry, in a fresh, shaky hand, was her own. Day 7. The door won't open. The window won't break. I am in room 204. Her blood ran cold. She hadn't written that. Then, on the very last page, new words began to form, the ink welling up from the paper as if written by an invisible pen. Hello, Elira. She dropped the journal with a gasp. The whispers in the room fell silent, all at once. The only sound was the steady, patient ticking of the clock. From the shadows near the bed, a figure coalesced. It was her. Not a ghost, not a memory, but a version of herself that seemed settled. Calm. Her eyes held the weight of centuries she couldn't possibly have lived. You're trying to fight it, the other Elira said, her voice a perfect mirror of her own, yet layered with the same ancient whisper that filled the room. It's easier if you don't. What are you? Ilara choked out, backing against the unmovable door. I'm the one who stayed. The one who learned. This room isn't a prison, it's a collection. And every collection needs a curator. She gestured around them. The others, they're just fragments. Fading photographs. But you're strong. You can be more. You can be the one who is still alive. The truth crashed down on Ilara. Nobody leaves didn't mean they died. It meant they became part of the room's permanent, living exhibit. Their consciousness absorbed, their will subsumed. The someone still alive was the current curator, the dominant soul given the illusion of control, tasked with comforting the new arrivals until they, too, faded into the background noise. The other Ilara reached out a hand. The man before you lasted 50 years. He's the one in the clock now. It's a lonely job, but it beats becoming a whisper. Tears streamed down Ilara's face. She saw the flapper in the corner, now just a faint shimmer. She saw the businessman, a mere chill in the air. To resist was to fade. To accept was to become a warden of her own hell. Outside, the world moved on. The hotel stood, silent and foreboding. In room 204, the door remained shut, the window unbroken. And if you press your ear to the keyhole on a quiet night, you won't hear screams anymore. You'll hear the steady tick of a clock, the rustle of a page turning, and the soft, resigned sound of someone who was very, very much alive, waiting for the next guest to join the collection.